Zack Cregger's Resident Evil just got some cool casting news. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, this is Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're looking forward to that new Resident Evil movie that's not going to have any characters or connections to the games, subscribe. We're going to talk about it on this channel all the time, and I'm joking, of course. It will have connections to the game, just not characters. He keeps saying, Leon's story. Leon's story. That's what Zack Cregger says. He says, it's already been done. Why would I make a movie about what's already been done? And to that point, I kind of agree with him. I don't disagree with the idea of what he's saying. That being said, we had 6 movies starring Milla Jovovich, which kind of went in that direction. They brought in characters from the game, from the series as time went on, of course, but she was an original character to those. And then we had Welcome to Raccoon City, a film that I quite frankly enjoy quite a bit, but I really love the games. If you've been on this channel at all, following me for a little while, I really got into them just like in March, April, around there. I got a little sick and I was like, I'm going to play these games. And I just started playing them and fell in love with them. And I just think they're fantastic. So I'm really excited to see what the director of Weapons is going to do. This is like one of the hottest directors, if not the hottest director working in Hollywood today. I mean, you can make an argument, Superman saved movies and all that stuff, but Weapons was the one that kind of came out of nowhere and was a shot in the arm for movie theaters and for movies in theaters specifically. And now, of course, it's on digital. You can start watching it in your home, but it did amazing in the theater. And you know that Sony, that Capcom and Constantine Films are like frothing at the lips, being like, oh, we've got this guy making a Resident Evil. We can't lose. But then you have fans hearing what he's saying about not bringing in any of the characters from the games because you don't want to. But he's saying he's sticking with the lore. He's going to make it, everything he does in this is going to kind of fit in with the lore, and that's very exciting and everything. But if you're a diehard fan and you want to see your characters that you've been playing for 20 plus years, well over 20 plus years, come on the big screen, you're just not going to get that this time. You got that in Welcome to Raccoon City. That movie did okay, but not amazing. Sony, they're going to want to keep the engine going on Resident Evil. Zack Cregger's doing it. So look, again, I did this in another video where I kind of mentioned Biohazard, Resident Evil 7. And I love that game. I think that is a phenomenal game. And they kind of did the same type of thing where they took it out. But I do think we're going to get references and characters referenced in Cregger's movie. I think the world is too rich not to do that. I think you're going to have to. Now, I can see us following a new protagonist around. That makes sense to me. But I think you're going to need to put in, like, some of the side characters are going to have names that you recognize from the games. I just don't see any other way around it. How can you make this Resident Evil without making it Resident Evil? Even the Milla Jovovich ones, like I said, Paul W.S. Anderson ones, even those ones, they kind of have to acknowledge the games as they went along a little bit more than I think they planned to initially, but you have to, because that's the sandbox you're in. Why take an IP and not play around with that IP to its full potential? But we're going to talk about the new casting today for this Resident Evil movie, because it is kind of exciting. This is an actor, Paul Walter Hauser, who is just everywhere right now, like literally everywhere. He's coming off of Fantastic Four, and he's literally in every single movie nowadays. He's just popping up, like pop, 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 pop. You need him. He's there. He's Pedro Pascal, basically. He might just be Pedro Pascal in a mask at this point. We don't know. It might be Pedro Pascal. Have you seen the two of them in the same room together? They haven't started the same movie together, have they? Have they? That being said, I wonder if Pedro Pascal will be cast in Resident Evil, because he was supposed to be in Weapons, if you remember, and he wasn't able to do that. So you'll know that Cregger and him want to work together. So, there is a chance he will be in this, although I do think it's a little bit too similar, I suppose, to The Last of Us. So maybe both of them will want to steer clear of the IP. Pedro Pascal in this IP. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But Paul Walter Hauser has been cast in Resident Evil. He's going to star alongside Austin Abrams, who was just in Weapons with Zack Cregger, so they have a working relationship there, obviously, and this is very intriguing. But again, I said off the top, is this going to be all original? Are we going to get more than just original characters? And I started thinking, like I said, I feel like we're going to need characters that are recognizable from the game. If not just the name, maybe more. Maybe not full-blown characters, maybe not main players in it, but names here and there. They should be sprinkled out. The story of Resident Evil, one of the reasons why I got really, really invested in it was just fascinating to me. Like, just the way, like, everything kind of connected, but they stayed separate, but they connected, and the character names, and you kind of grow as you go along. And I mentioned Biohazard, and now when you see, writings, diary writing, newspaper clippings with characters' names that come from earlier games and iterations, and it's just, I don't know, I just think it's fascinating, the world that they've built, and I don't know why you would want to stay completely clear of that. Again, I understand why you wouldn't do a story that's been told in the game and you want to separate it. And so to do that, maybe you have to create a new character. But I do think we're going to get some characters, some names, some lower tier characters. I think we'll get some recognition from them in this. And maybe Paul Walter Hauser is playing one of those. So I decided to kind of like do some brainstorming to look through it and say, who could he be? Who could Paul Walter Hauser possibly be portraying in the new Resident Evil? First up, we're going to go with William Birkin. If you don't know, Birkin is the scientist obsessed with the G virus who basically unleashes hell on Raccoon City. He's tragic, he's terrifying, and he mutates into one of the most iconic Resident Evil bosses ever. Hauser has the acting chops to make Birkin more than just a mad scientist. He could make him sympathetic, even likable, before he fully descends into monster territory. It could happen. It could. But this is a character, this one might be a little too top tier character for Cregger to want to use in this version, in this movie that he's making. So we might not get that. But I think Paul Walter Hauser could portray Birkin successfully. Number 2, we're going to go with Brian Irons. The corrupt Raccoon City police chief from Resident Evil 2, he was straight up twisted. On the surface, he's supposed to be a leader, but underneath, he's one of the most depraved characters in the series. Honestly, Hauser could crush this role. He's proven he can play unsettling and creepy, but also believable. If Cregger wants to lean into the horror side of Resident Evil, Irons could be the perfect match, and I think Cregger is going to give us a true horror for Resident Evil, more than we've gotten in the past. And look, the 6 films with Mila Jovovich, they're very action-y, and I think Raccoon City, one thing I love about Welcome to Raccoon City that I don't think people talk about enough is just the way it kind of looks and has the vibe of a retro movie. I think, you know, it takes place in 1998, I know, but I feel like it's even more like original Halloween, like John Carpenter's Halloween with the slow zooms and whatnot. And I think that movie is underrated, to be completely honest with you. I think Hauser would relish being a villain, but maybe he won't be. Maybe they're going to play him opposite of what I'm thinking, because I think Cregger is in my mind and he doesn't want to do what I'm suspecting. So maybe he's going to be a hero. So who could he be portraying on the hero side of things?
I need your eyes on the crime scene.
How about Barry Burton? Barry Burton is a STARS veteran. He's got the dad energy, the family man angle. It would be cool subversion to cast Hauser as the big-hearted, slightly gruff member of the team. Barry's not always a front man, but he's a fan favorite. And let's be honest, Hauser with a revolver and red vest, that would sell. Yeah. And again, this isn't like a top-tier character, but he's there. He's somebody in that world. And I can see Hauser pulling Burton off. And how about Ramon Salazar? Or what about Lucas Baker from Resident Evil 7? Both these guys are unhinged, theatrical villains. Hauser could play them with the over-the-top creepy charisma, but my gut tells me Cregger's not starting with those deep cuts. I think he's going to hold some reservation on deep cuts like that, and he's going to hold those off for possibly a sequel, or maybe never, depending. But I think those are characters, you use them later on. If I had to hedge my bets and he was playing a character that is not new to the franchise, but an existing character, I would have to go with William Birkin or Brian Irons. Ultimately, probably Birkin is more likely, but, you know, either or. The reason why I say Birkin, though, is because the story is very cinematic. A scientist with good intentions, corrupted by umbrella experiments on himself, becomes a literal monster. That's exactly the kind of character arc an actor like Hauser would sign on for. Like, we forget, like, actors, you know, they do it for the paycheck, obviously, but they also do it for the role, right? What is the role? Is it a meaty role? And we know that Hauser will be taking this because he wants to work with a director like Zack Cregger right now, but also the character. Every time I watch these horror movies, I think of, oh, look, there's that actor there that I recognize, and then you see their death scene. I'm like, they probably did it to have that over-the-top dramatic death scene. A lot of them take these roles for those kind of moments to have, because you don't get them every day. You don't get them in every production that you do. And so you would think that Hauser, whatever role it is, he'll have some kind of impact and something zany is going to happen to him, and he's going to have a lot of fun with that. That's my speculation there. So those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Who do you think he's playing? Is it going to be an original character or a character that we've seen before in the games? And are you looking forward to this movie? I think Zack Cregger, I think right now he is on a roll, obviously. Hottest director, possibly working in Hollywood. I mean, there's a few other ones, but just with the success of Weapons being an original IP, pulling people away from their houses into the movie theater, which is something that hasn't quite happened like that since pre-COVID, that's successful. And the fact that he's going to be doing this Resident Evil movie, I think it tells you that the movie is in good hands. Now, whether or not it is a true, factual Resident Evil movie that fans accept as the lore of Resident Evil, that remains to be seen. And we won't know until more details come out, because there are no story details as of right now. So we won't know anything until that comes out. And you know, I'm got a side act right here. I kind of hope we don't get any details. Honestly, to be completely honest with you, I kind of hope we don't get any, because one thing that was great and fascinating about Weapons was how we knew nothing going into it, right? You saw the trailer came out like a month or two before, and we were like, whoa, that looks wild. And then you see it, and very little that we saw was spoiled for the movie. So I hope they kind of do that with Resident Evil. Obviously, I think we're gonna have to learn a little bit more because it is such a big IP, but that's my hope right now, is that we learn very little going into it, and then when we see the movie, we can enjoy it for what it is, and hopefully what it is a Resident Evil movie. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hit the like button, subscribe button, and until next time, may be the master of your own universe.